Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we've got a really interesting knife review. Today we're taking a look at the Demko AD-20.5 again. Gideon, haven't you already reviewed the AD-20.5? Yes, twice, I believe. Or maybe just once. Maybe I have shown both previous blade shapes on the channel before, but today we're taking a look at a different, at the very least, variation of this knife. This is the slicer blade version, and actually there's a couple of things that are different about this one. So this is a BladeHQ exclusive version, but we've got the slicer blade, which I'm pretty sure is an exclusive blade shape from BladeHQ. We also have these Ultim scales, which are kind of unique. And this is actually different than the previous AD-20.5s I've reviewed, because this one has the actual pivot, like the actual kind of like pivot collar. The big pivot is what they call it, instead of the Demko knives being stamped on the plastic with the screw in the middle. This one's got the big button. So there are some differences with this knife, and it's different enough that I felt like it deserved its own review. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and kick this off with a blade length measurement. So our sharpened edge is coming in here. Oh my goodness. Like, we're going to call it 3 inches. I mean, 2.99999 inches. Overall length, just a smidge over 3. Not quite 3 1/4, but just about 3 1/8. So, yeah, a very compact little knife. Let's go ahead and bring out some size comparisons. Here is our Rat 2 and our Rat 1. Let's go ahead and move these guys a little bit more towards the center. Very, very cool. Let's bring out our Civivi comparisons, starting with the Elementum. And here's the Praxis. Not a huge knife. Not a huge knife. Let's bring out our USA made comparisons. And I'm mainly running through all the comparisons for those 2 of you that have never seen a video on the 20.5 before, because I'm sure there's someone out there who is brand new, right? But there we go, against the bench spray bug out Spyderco PM2. And let's go ahead and compare it against some other classic Demkos. This is the AD-20.5. Well, here's the AD-10. And here's the AD-15. It's dwarfed by his older brothers. And let's go ahead and bring out just a couple more cold steels to compare against, because I feel like cold steel is kind of who you compare these knives against. That's the American Lawman, and here's the Code 4. And I chose these because these are 2 of like what I consider some more like EDC friendly cold steels, and I want to compare the thickness of these 2. As you can see, they are very similar. And we will end with just one more round of size comparisons. Of course, we have to bring out my other 20.5. I've owned a few 20.5s. These are the only 2 I've got right now. I've gotten rid of all the rest. I don't think anyone wanted this one with a serrated blade. And here we'll bring out the CGRB Pyrite Light, just because I've been carrying these 2 knives a lot recently. I do like my serrated blade AD-20.5 though. It's pretty cool, and I made a really fun video with it a while back. All right, so what are we looking at for our materials here? Well, the slicer blade here is 20 CV steel. We have these Ultim scales, steel liners, steel clip, bearings, and of course the shark lock. Let's go ahead and go do some cutting. Hey guys, let's do some review cutting, huh? Today we are going to be cutting with the Demko AD-20.5 slicer blade. So I have reviewed the 20.5 in the past. This review here is really just about this blade, but we're going to go ahead and pretend like we're just reviewing this knife for the first time. So we're going to be talking about the ergos, the action, all that stuff we've already covered in past reviews. Because to be honest, my other AD-20.5 reviews were filmed a really long time ago. And you know what? I think I've improved as a YouTuber since then. At least I like to think so. So, yeah, let's go ahead and have us a little bit of fun. So let's go ahead and start with the ergonomics. Man, I say that a lot. Let's go ahead. Whatever. So, ergonomics. This knife is pretty slim. We've got Ultim scales on here, so I guess this kind of serves a review for Ultim scales too. These are diamond textured. The ergonomic lines are actually really good. Back here, I feel very, very strong. Feel locked in. The shark lock here acts as a thumb ramp when you're back here, so you can get a little bit of extra reach, and you're very, very locked in. But you can choke up into this little half choil here. You got great jimping right here. Fantastic jimping. Get up in there, and holy cow, you have so much control over this blade, especially this blade. You got a lot of control over here. So yeah, I would not say that this is the most ergonomic Demko design out there. And this Ultim one definitely has some sharp edges, but it's a very secure feeling knife. The ergonomics are very well thought out, as you'd expect from Demko, and they work pretty damn well. All right, action. It is so crazy to me that you can just go and buy these now, because once upon a time, you had to fight tooth and nail to get an AD-20.5. And this action here, this lock, has kicked off a whole new gold rush of lock experimentation in the knife community, and I think that's awesome. But the shark lock is the OG. Very strong, very easy to use. This particular version of the knife only has a blade hole. The reverse flick is fantastic. Thumb flick, a little bit hard to do, but it still works. If you're wearing gloves, this is very easy to slow roll open, so I like that a whole lot. The action on this thing is just, it's good. You know, we got a free swing and dangler. Very, very good action. I like it a whole lot. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the carry. So this knife is completely ambidextrous. You do get an extra pocket clip in the box, so thank you, Demko, for looking out for the lefties. The Demkos, they do a good job about that. We all owe them. In and out of the pocket. I actually like this pocket clip a lot. I know a lot of people switch these out. I think it's a great pocket clip. It works really, really well in and out of the pocket. Even on this, you know, kind of aggressively textured diamond pattern Ultim, the clip has just the right amount of spring tension. It works in and out of the pocket just really, really well. For a working knife, you know, if you're wearing gloves or something, you want to have something to grab onto. I don't like all my knives to be deep carry, so this, for me, is completely fine. It does kind of look like I have a piss sickle sticking out of my pocket when I'm walking around, but that's just because of the Ultim scales. But yeah, carries really, really well. I'm a big fan of these clips. Again, I know some people aren't the biggest fan of them, but I think, like, functionally, they work just fine. In fact, more than fine. They're great. All right, let's go ahead and cut some stuff. So, the slicer blade. Now, at first I thought the slicer blade would be fully flat ground. It's not. This is a flat grind, and we do still have a bit of a beefy stock. We don't come down to the thinnest edge, but the blade shape itself does lend itself... The blade shape does lend itself to some admittedly powerful slicing cuts. On this version here, we have CPM 20CV. Let's go ahead and get some cutting done. And there, I said it again. Did you guys hear me? Got to break that habit. Really, really got to break that habit. Again, the control you get over this blade is pretty phenomenal. This thing does slice very, very nicely. Utility cuts. Go ahead and get down here. Whoops. If I can hold on to the cardboard. Utility cuts are not a problem. Excuse me. Yeah. Wow, that was weird. Tape. Yeah. So the blade, good cutter. Would I say this is the best slicing knife out there? No. No, it's not. Like I said, it's more of a cutter. Maybe they should have called this a cutter blade, but they didn't. It does get the job done, though. It does get the job done. All right. Cut some rope. Yeah, that felt good. No surprises there. Let's go ahead and crunch down on this. One. Oh, yeah. Why is my board wobbling today? 2. What the fuck? I don't know what I'm doing differently. 3. Yep. Absolutely did wonders on that rope. No surprise, we got a robust blade. They tend to handle fibrous materials really, really well. All right, let's go ahead and do our pool noodle. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Wow. That's actually pretty thin. So we did not bind, we did not snag, we didn't squish the foam. We sliced it cleanly, and we were able to go very, very thin. Now we did do a little bit of waving. You know, we kind of weren't able to go quite as thin as I want to, but still, that's nothing to shake a stick at. That's a decently performing blade for sure. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot of problems with that. Would I call it the world's greatest slicer? No, you know, the name might be a little misleading, but it is a really good cutter, and this is my favorite blade shape that you can get this knife in. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the table. Alrighty, so what am I liking and not liking about this knife? And by the way, for the purposes of this review, I'm treating it like this is the first time I reviewed this knife. So, we will be doing some comparisons later though. Stay tuned. So number 1, I do like the way that this thing looks. There's a little bit of awkwardness with the AD-20.5s. The blade to handle ratio is not that great. It looks great when it's closed, right? Man, that tip goes all the way to the end, but you lose quite a bit of handle up here with the whole locking mechanism. But I think this looks good. I do like this blade shape. It's kind of a spear point, drop point. I like it a whole lot. Now let's go ahead and talk about that blade actually, because I do like this blade. I think this is the best blade that you can get on a 20.5. So we've got a really nice stone wash, which is very, very cool. 20 CV steel. This seemed to have held up pretty well through all the tests, all the work that I put it through. We can see here we have some chipping in the edge. I do need to work on this guy a little bit. He has just been stropped recently. But I will say the edge from the factory is also very, very nice. Let's bring out a sticky note. I have used this to demonstrate sharpness of something in the past. But yeah, the edge from the factory was very, very sharp. Had a great angle. And yeah, out there towards the tip, we are pretty dull, but we still have a usable edge. The whole thing's a little bit rough, but still usable. Yeah, the 20 CV steel has held up great. I have been using this guy pretty rough. I have not been nice to this thing, and it's been holding up very, very well. Now, the blade itself, I think, is interesting. So, number 1, it's pretty thick. I mean, I was not expecting it to be this robust. Let's bring out our Rat 2. You can see that, yeah, we've got a robust blade on this thing. Heck, let's bring out the Rat 1 because it's got a thicker blade. And you can see here that, yeah, the Demko is thicker still. Very, very robust. But you do taper quite a bit towards the tip here. Now, you're not going to be getting like a needle-like tip or anything, but it does thin up considerably. What you end up with is a knife that does cut very, very nicely, but it's also very robust. This is not thin behind the edge at all. But the way this blade is shaped, coupled with the ergos, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, makes it a very powerful cutter. And I have been carrying this knife a lot as what I call an adventure knife. I've got a video out about my thought process behind that term. But yeah, this has been going with me hiking, camping, out in the field and stuff. It's been a great workhorse, and I appreciate this blade that, yeah, gets all my cutting tasks done, but is still very robust and durable. Cutting rope, cutting cardboard, things like that, this is going to do just fine at. If you want to skin a grape, probably not the best thing for it, but most cutting tasks, this thing works. I would not call it a slicer. I know it's called a slicer grind, but it's a very, very good cutter. And I think I used that line word for word in the review cutting. But yeah, this blade I really do enjoy. You can get to that tip very easily. The size of the blade coupled with the handle makes it very easy to manipulate this blade. You can choke up here, and again, we'll talk about the arrows in a second. This jimping up here is really interesting. You can see here that we have kind of a sweat or like a depression in the blade of the spine here. It kind of slopes downward. really nice spot for your thumb. That jimping is nice and aggressive, but not painful. And you can see that is a difference from the just straight top on the shark foot version. Let's go ahead and talk about the ergos since we already kind of started talking about the ergos. They're good. The AD-20.5 is a thin knife, but you know, it does feel the hand in this direction. It does kind of force you into a certain grip, but for me at least, it's always worked out to be a very, very good grip. You can choke up in this little 50-50 choil. Again, you get excellent control over that blade. We'll talk a little bit more about the ergos later, but in general, yeah, the ergos are completely fine. You can use the shark lock as a thumb rest if you want to get a little more reach at something, so I like that a whole lot. And this stuff is very grippy, actually. This Ultim is very, very grippy, and I did appreciate that. There was a few times where I was using this in the rain, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm holding on to this thing. It's not going anywhere. I like that. The action. This is what made the AD-20.5 famous. Who doesn't recognize that sound? It's a good sound. This knife sounds fantastic. This is a very fun knife to fidget with. This version has just a blade hole instead of a blade hole with a thumb stud, and it works great. Fantastic shape for a blade hole. Yeah, it works really, really well. Using this knife is very, very easy. I love the shark lock. It's a very strong lock, really durable lock. And it's very rare that you find a knife that is fidgety and has a bomb-proof lock. So, good on them. Next thing, the build quality on this feels just really, really nice. I gotta mention that. Centering everything is perfect. I do like how the scales are, or how the liners are countersunk into the scales. I've always thought that that's a very, very classy thing to do, except for up here where they kind of come proud. I also think that's kind of cool. That little transition there is always been very, very neat to me. I do like this pivot way, way more than this one. This one looks kind of cheap and bleh. This one looks way, way classier. Really a big fan of that. I do kind of like the way the Ultim looks. I like that you can kind of see the internals of the knife, but we'll get back to the Ultim in a little bit. This knife is completely ambidextrous. Obviously, the shark lock is righty or lefty friendly, and they send you another clip in the packaging. So I think that's really, really cool. Lefties, you're included. And I like this clip a lot. I think this is a great clip. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to some of my negatives. Negative number one, I'm not the biggest fan of this Ultim. It's a little bit sharp. There are some sharp edges on this Ultim, and squeezing down on it, yeah, I can definitely feel that it was sharp. Sometimes it's texturing. I praised it earlier. It's a little bit too sharp at times. Not necessarily under the clip, but like it just feels a little bit uncomfortable in the hand. I will most likely be switching these scales out. I'm already looking at buying a set, and yeah, I will be making a video swapping those. But yeah, you can hear how sharp these corners are. Yeah, that's icky, icky, icky. Next thing, this is like really minor, and this is something I hardly ever talk about. The new packaging for Demko sucks. I missed the, let me grab it right here. I missed this box. This box is cool. But that's a very, very minor thing. Maybe they switched it out because of manufacturing, or maybe heck even environmental reasons, like CGRB did. So I can support that. And really, that's my only complaint. My biggest complaint are these scales, but I guess those two things are really my only complaints. I really, really like this knife. I guess something else I could complain about is that this is a BladeHQ exclusive. I'm not sure if they're ever going to do it again. So maybe when they're gone, they're gone. But they've got a bunch of these on sale right now. As I'm recording this, the sale is still going. You can go and pick one of these up for a really good price. I got mine for 120 bucks, and I think that's an absolute steal. Regular price on these was, what, like 200 bucks? It's a little bit less of a steal, but if you can get in on that deal, this is a fantastic, fantastic buy. Final conclusions. I like this knife. This is my favorite version of the AD-20.5. I've always liked the AD-20.5. It's never been my favorite knife. Like, I haven't ever been like super crazy about it. This one I really do enjoy, and I feel like once I get some new scales on it, this has the potential to become one of my most carried knives. Like I said, this is a fantastic work knife or adventure knife. I really enjoyed all the use I got out of this thing. I like how durable it is, yet it's still a pocket knife. I think that's really great. This is the kind of knife that is just kind of made for me and my specific use requirements. So big fan of this thing, and I'm really glad I picked one up. Alrighty, that's going to be it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe. Big shout out to my channel members at the cowboy level. I really appreciate everything they do for the channel. If you want to become a channel member, there's a button down below where you can join. And that's it for me today. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.